What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is Jeff Lighty Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Colin Kaepernick is going to get an NFL workout. We could possibly see Colin Kaepernick in the NFL once again. We are going to talk about that, whether that's a good or a bad thing. Let's discuss it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is Jeff Lighty Jr. here with the Black Boss Channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button as you come in. Thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. Colin Kaepernick. Cap. I stand with Cap. Former NFL quarterback, sued the league. Actually won, settled out of court. Will get a workout for the first time in 6 years. Yes, you heard that right. 6 years, Colin Kaepernick. Let's get right into the story. Let's read it. I want to see your comments live. We're live right now. This is a story. Adam Schefter broke the story. It says Colin Kaepernick to work out for the Las Vegas Raiders, one of the most forward, progressive thinking organizations in the history of the NFL, by the way. Let's just point that out. And my favorite team, by the way. But on Wednesday, sources say, it says Colin Kaepernick, who last played professional football in 2016, the year he started kneeling during the national anthem to protest racial injustice, is scheduled to work out Wednesday for the Las Vegas Raiders, league sources told ESPN. It will mark Kaepernick's first workout with an NFL team since being exiled, and it will be the first time the former star quarterback visits with the team since he flew to Seattle to meet with the Seahawks in May of 2017, before they passed on the opportunity to sign him. Kaepernick played for the University of Nevada, the only school offering a scholarship, blah, blah, blah. Raiders owner Mark Davis is following in the spirit of his late father, Al Davis, who was active in civil rights. Al Davis became the first NFL owner in the modern era to hire a black coach in Art Shell, a woman chief executive in Amy Trask, and also became the second NFL owner to hire a Hispanic head coach in Tom Flores. The NFL said it encouraged teams to take a look at Kaepernick contract with any team. He also has not received a workout until now, the one he is planned for Wednesday. Mark Davis told ESPN's Paul Gutierrez back in June of 2020 that he would give, quote, his blessing if the Raiders front office or coaches wanted to add Kaepernick. Well, we know the Raiders front office and coaches were ran by John Gruden previous to this regime. It was John Gruden, and, Davis probably didn't want to step on his toes, and we know Gruden wasn't too fond of getting no cap. But let's keep going. Derek Carr is currently the starting quarterback. The Raiders also recently traded for Jarrett Stidham from the New England Patriots. Las Vegas also has Nick Mullins, who is terrible, by the way. Kaepernick is 34, recently threw to undrafted receivers at the halftime of the Michigan spring game at the invitation of Jim Harbaugh, who was his former coach at the San Francisco 49ers. Another potential link to Kaepernick and the Raiders is offensive coordinator Mick Lombardi, who was with the 49ers from 2013 to 2016 when Cap was there. In an interview with the I Am Athlete podcast, Kaepernick noted that both of his former Niners coaches, Harbaugh and Chip Kelly, said, quote, he made the locker room better, contrasting a narrative that he would be a distraction for any team that he signs with. Quote, that 2016 season, my last year, my teammates voted me most courageous and inspirational player. He said, so when you're talking about people who are in the building that has never come out and that I've been a distraction, that's never come out. I've never been an issue for the people that I played with. Kaepernick also said in the interview that today's NFL, quote, should be more in alignment with his social views, given the league's stance on other matters pertaining race relations in the U.S. What he's talking about is the stance that everybody took after 2020, post-George Floyd. See, the pre-George Floyd era of not just the NFL, but the world was different than the post-George Floyd era, or supposed to be different. Let's act like it is completely different. Systematic racism, all that stuff is still in place. But when you have things like end racism in the back of your end zone and on the back of players' helmets, you should be more inclusive. But let's continue on. You have end racism in the back of your end zones. You have Black Lives Matter on your helmets. Everything I've said should be in alignment with what you're saying publicly. It's a $16 billion business. When I first took a knee, my jersey went to number one. When I did the deal with Nike, their value increased by $6 billion. $6 billion with a B. Cap's got a point. Think about, okay, so like we get all of that. We know the rest of the story. So Kaepernick, he's not back in the NFL. Let's get that. He is not back in the NFL. He is just doing a workout with the Raiders. The Raiders have not come out and said they're going to sign him. There's no guarantee that they're going to sign him. This is just a workout. Let me say that once again. This is just a workout. This is not nothing is set in stone. A couple of things to this. One, the fact that it's the Raiders does not surprise me at all. I honestly thought back in 2020 the Raiders were going to do just this. The problem with the Raiders back in 2020 as compared to now, and why they're doing more willing to do this workout and potentially sign Colin Kaepernick now, is that John Gruden isn't running the show. We know, if you don't know John Gruden and you know what he said about DeMaurice Smith, the lips and all this stuff, racial epithets and all this stuff that came out with him with the leaked emails of the NFL, go look that up. It's too long to explain. So that's why they didn't do it. But Mark Davis spoke about it. See, think about it. He spoke about it, and we just read about that because he, in the back of his mind, he probably wanted to do it. See, Al Davis was very innovative as far as, you know, going against the grain, being someone, they said an advocate for civil rights. I don't know if I go that far, but he is someone who, like, he at least pretended like he cared, but he cared about black people. All his former players say that. He hired a black coach. He hired a Latino coach. He hired a woman in his front office. He was the first to do all of those things, right? First or second, like one of at the forefront of like basically integrating black people and minorities or whatever into his organization. And so his son is taking on that spirit. Son isn't him, but you take on that spirit of your father. And so therefore, back in 2020, I think he wanted to take on the spirit of his father, and his father was a little bit of a rebel. So if everybody is going right, Al Davis wanted to go left. Everybody was going left, Al Davis wanted to go right. And I think his son wants to be a little bit like that. And his son, I think, wanted to bring in Colin Kaepernick. But Gruden probably didn't want to bring in Colin Kaepernick. Now that Gruden is gone, Josh McDaniels is in, a new GM is in, they are bringing in Colin Kaepernick. There's a couple of things with this, though. A couple of things. The Raiders are probably going to sign him. You know, why do I say this? Well, why else would you bring in a guy who hasn't played in the NFL in 6 years? Why? Because this is going to be the biggest story in sports for a little bit. They're going, and they know by taking a stance, taking a position like this, even by bringing him in for a workout, it's going to make it a huge story. I did this Colin Kaepernick thing, and in an hour, it's gotten 13,000 views on my Instagram. My Instagram is at JLighty, by the way, at JLighty7. In an hour, it's gotten 13,000 views. This is going to be a controversial thing, good and bad. There's going to be black people and other people that are screaming from the mountaintops like about damn time. I'm actually already seeing some of your comments that's saying about time, because a lot of people feel like this is 6 years too late. 6 years due, 6 years past due. Imagine somebody paid you in 6 years. You'd be like, about damn time you gave me my money. And that's how they feel about Kaep. Kaep, at one point, Kaep, back in 2016, did something so courageous that a lot of people weren't willing to do. He put his career on the line, and essentially still is. Like, there's no guarantee. He's 34 years old. There's no guarantee the Raiders are going to bring in a 34-year-old backup quarterback. It's just not a guarantee. But the fact that he was willing to raise awareness against police brutality, raise awareness against systematic oppression that takes place in America over black people, raise awareness for the injustices of black people right here in America. That was big, especially when the sitting president during the time, well, ended up becoming president, was Donald Trump. Say what you want about Trump, whether you love him, hate him, whatever. He was a controversial figure, and he was not a fan of Colin Kaepernick. He was not a fan of kneeling during the anthem. He was not a fan of none of this, right? And the NFL lost a lot of money during the Kaepernick thing. Kaepernick's jersey, as he pointed out, went to number one, but the NFL and a lot of their, you know what they are, they're those kind of fans, the non-melanated fans, were pissed at Kaepernick. You're disrespecting the flag. It's had nothing to do. I just want to reemphasize, this never had anything to do about the damn flag. This was all about what was happening to black people. And he made that clear from the jump. This was all about what was happening in this country, this very country, to black people. Too many instances to name. And this was before George Floyd. And so now, in this post George Floyd era, is post George Floyd America. Now, I mean, it's like, I don't know if it was because it was the pandemic. I don't know if because everybody was stuck at home. I don't know if because you were stuck at home, you couldn't do anything but sit there and watch that George Floyd video on repeat. That at least white folks, big corporate America, whatever, they said, damn, this is kind of messed up. It's like a light switch flipped, whatever. It's like, damn, police brutality is a problem in this country. Injustices to black people is a problem in this country. After George Floyd, after watching that horrific George Floyd video on repeat over and over and over. And then they decided that, damn, maybe black people have a point. Maybe they are being unjust. Maybe this system is against them. Or at least they were pretending to finally realize this. I mean, it's something we've known for hundreds of years. But they were pretending to realize, like, maybe this stuff is wrong. Maybe what's happening to those people are wrong. And so then this growing wave of people were like, well, damn, Kaep, at least if you didn't have no other, because the NFL was one of these big time organizations, billion-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar organization that were like, yeah, we fight against racial injustice. Well, the black folks was like, that ain't true. You're fucking lying. I'm sorry for the language, but you are a damn lie, because Kaep was telling y'all this 6 years ago or 4 years ago at that time, and y'all blackballed him from the league. So much so that he had to sue, and y'all settled out of court because he was right. Because Kaep at the time, I repeat, at the time in 2016 was bad for business. But in 2022, Kaep could potentially be good for business. But see, that flip has switched in some parts of the country, not everywhere. But in corporate America, the flip, or at least the perception of that flip, has been switched. And so Kaep, what he was doing back then, is now socially acceptable, or should be socially acceptable. Why do I say should be? Well, it should be because, like I said, the NFL at least were pandering towards black people. You were putting end racism in the back of your end zones. You were putting end racism on the back of players' helmets. You were putting Black Lives Matter on the back of players' helmets. You were putting the names of victims that had been killed by the police on the back of players' helmets. The NBA had end racism on the back of players' jerseys. The NBA had Black Lives Matter on the back of players' jerseys during the bubble. The NBA did all of this stuff. The NFL allegedly contributed millions of dollars to social justice organizations. The NBA allegedly contribute millions of dollars to social justice organizations. So now what Kaep was doing in 2016 is now socially acceptable. Now what Kaep was doing in 2016 is now the cool thing to do, because of, rest in peace, George Floyd and what took place with him, and also Breonna Taylor, rest in peace, from my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. That is now socially acceptable. That is now the it thing, at least. And now that Donald Trump, the big bad boogeyman, is out of office, people are more willing to allegedly, I haven't been there, but allegedly give money to these social justice organizations. And so bringing in Kaep for the Raiders, or for any organization in the NFL, is now cool, because all that tension, all of that stuff that we were fighting back in 2016 or trying to stay away from or whatever, is now over. We're in a different era. We're in the post-George Floyd era of the world. The pandemic, post-pandemic, or whatever of the world, COVID of the world. You get what I'm saying? And so that's why, now, once again, there is no guarantee that the Raiders sign Colin Kaepernick. But I don't believe you bring in Colin Kaepernick in this era for a workout if you do not plan on signing him. Once again, they have no obligations. They are not forced to sign Colin. Let me make that 100% clear. But I don't believe that an organization in the NFL will bring in Colin Kaepernick in this post-George Floyd world, this post-Breonna Taylor world, this post-COVID-19 world, and not sign him. I just don't think I just don't believe it'll happen. Now, my question is, Cap, he's made documentaries. He had his, Colin in Black and White. He's done a lot of work in the social justice sphere. He's made a name for himself. Hell, even when you Google Colin Kaepernick right now, it says American activist. It no longer says football player or athlete or former NFL player. It's if you Google Colin Kaepernick right now, under his name, like as far as his title, it says American activist. A lot of people were putting Kaepernick in the same sphere, in the same breath as those like Muhammad Ali. Right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, but they were saying he was so courageous because he put his career on the line, like a Muhammad Ali. He didn't put his life on the line like the civil rights activists of the Malcolms and the Martins and the Fred Hamptons and so on and so forth, but he put his career on the line like a Ali and like some others. And to a lot of people, myself included, I thought he would be content with being in that space because he's a legend no matter what. He'll go down in the history books no matter what. You fought against systematic oppression in the NFL. You fought against them and you kind of won. But what I want to ask you is this hindrance to, is this progress, or does this make Caps look like a sellout? Now, why do I ask that? Well, Cap, for one, in his Colin in Black and White, said the NFL draft is like a modern day slave trade. And I thought that was powerful. I didn't necessarily agree with it, but I thought it was powerful. I thought it was interesting. Cap has never backed down from his stance and never said he'd regret doing it. He said he wouldn't need, he has in years since 2016, said if he was in the NFL right now, would he need? No, because he did his job. And I agree with him. He did what he was supposed to do. But to me, I never thought Cap should have. Now, once again, I'm not Colin Kaepernick, but I never thought he should have wanted to play in the NFL anymore. The NFL served its purpose. It gave Colin the resources. It gave him the platform to take the stance that he took. It gave him the resources and the platform to bring attention to something that wasn't having attention being brought to from an athlete at that caliber. We're talking about Colin Kaepernick, a Pro Bowl NFL player, a Super Bowl, went to a Super Bowl, was a really, really good player at one point, taking a knee to fight against police brutality, to fight against injustices, to fight against white supremacy that takes place in this country. I thought it served as a vehicle for him to go out and do bigger and better things. But the entire time he was still wanting to get back in the league. Now, I'm not one to tell him he shouldn't want to get back in the NFL or shouldn't want to play football. But I thought his message, his brand, who he was bigger than the NFL at this point, was bigger than just playing football. And so does that make his message counterintuitive? You know, if you just love playing football this much, there's a ton of other leagues. There's the Canadian Football League. There's the USFL. At one point, there was the AAF. There's going to be the XFL. There's a fan control league. There's arena football. There's a bunch of places to play football. I was always kind of confused and perplexed by the fact that he wanted to get back in the NFL so bad. Granted, he felt like they stripped that away from him at the peak of his powers. He was 28 years old, and I agree. But I always thought at that point, his contribution to the Black community was bigger than anything he could do in the NFL. So I'm just curious on what you all think about that. I don't think this is necessarily a sellout move. One, I never thought after 6 years he'd even get a workout. He'd even get a chance. I thought the NFL had moved on from Colin Kaepernick. But you know, this is progress for him. This is progress. I don't know if it's progress for the league. I don't know. It's interesting because once again, there's no guarantee he's going to get signed. He's 34 years old. He's fighting for a second or third string position on the Raiders. The Raiders have the starting quarterback that's a lot younger than him. So I don't know. I do think it is interesting. I think it is a story. I think it's good for conversation. I'll probably be talking about this throughout the week. But Colin Kaepernick is getting a chance in the NFL, a workout anyway, and he could potentially be signed by the Las Vegas Raiders. His workout is according to the sources, scheduled for today, and so we'll have an update on this as soon as we get one. But this is going to be interesting moving forward. I've always stood with Cap. I've always been a Kaepernick fan for this. You know, we're B1 all day, every day on this platform, so we'll see what happens. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Once again, my name is Jeff Lightsey Jr. with the Black Boss Channel. You can subscribe to the Black Boss Channel at theblackbosschannel.com. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsey7. Instagram and Twitter at JLightsey7. Thank you all for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button on your way out, and we will see you next time. Peace.